cancer. My guest is the book you just saw, Win, Principles That Take Your Business from Ordinary to Extraordinary, and pollster Frank Luntz was the moderator at the forum, and good morning to you. It must have been a big honor for you in Iowa over the weekend, so thank you for your time here. We are going to look at how voters react to certain questions, and specifically the answers. There's a green line that shows moderates. There's a red line for Republicans. First up is Herman Cain. What did you ask him?
Well, this forum was very different, and it was an awesome responsibility to try to bring out the morals, the values in these candidates, to get them to talk about things that they had never addressed on the campaign trail. And for Herman Cain, the question was those words, "So help me God," which he hopes to deliver 14 months from now. Let's take a look at how Herman Cain responded to that question. What do the words, "So help me God," mean to him?
Stage hopes to be able to take the oath of office 14 months from now. And at the end of that oath are the words, "So help me God." When you hear those four words, if you have the opportunity and the privilege to say them, what will come to mind?
It's really two things. "So help me God" means that I am ultimately responsible to God Almighty. And secondly, it is an expression, in my view, of asking for God to help me in such an important job.
That's the key phrase. Asking God, seeking God's help. Now, it may sound too religious to some people, but to our audience, they responded so favorably because they realized that no one person can do it alone.
Because the audience was Republicans and conservatives who will be deciding who wins the caucus in the first part of January.
It was sponsored by the family leader. There were over 2,500 people in that audience. It was packed.
Wow.
And that was one of the most powerful.
All right, another question. You talked to Newt Gingrich, and he took you from a question, I believe, to Occupy Wall Street. Now, how did that happen?
Well, he's always the star of these debates. He either comes in first or second in every one, and this one was one of his key moments when he just basically smacks the moderator around, and the audience loved it. Let's take a look.
What is your worldview? And speak of it in terms of freedom, responsibility, and morality.
If you don't work, you won't eat. There's a deep sense of responsibility. Now, let me now take that and for a brief moment describe Occupy Wall Street. All of the Occupy movement starts with the premise that we all owe them everything. Now, that is a pretty good symptom of how much the left has collapsed as a moral system in this country, and why you need to reassert something as simple as saying to them, go get a job right after you take a bath.
Now, I made a mistake there, which is in this debate, I was nodding my head too much. And a senior producer from ABC News actually called me afterward. Our job as moderators is not to pick a fight, and it's not to try to cause them to go at each other. It's to try to get at the real truth. And that was my goal in these sessions. And I think that perhaps I did nod too much.
Well, sometimes when you nod your head, it shows the interviewee that you're in agreement with them.
And that's
what could cause someone to be encouraged with an answer.
Right, and that I should not have done. But I also had an audience of 2,500 people, and my job was to connect to them and that segment of the population.
That's a fair point. I just want to make this point. The moderates and the conservatives moved along the same line in both of the clips you just showed us. How do viewers or voters react to the emotion that you saw on
They
Saturday?
want to see it, and this is something that the media doesn't
The tears
realize.
and the stories, they're okay with that?
It's not what's in your head, it's also what's in your heart. It's what's in your soul. And these debates, up until now, have argued over specific policy points, and they haven't sufficiently raised who they are, what they believe, and so viewers thought this was truly innovative. They got a chance to see a different perspective.
Yeah,
of these
that we did,
candidates.
a different side of them, too. Congratulations, Frank.
Thank you.
Well done. Frank Luntz back here in New York now. Good to see you. All right, Martha.
Well, speaking of the road to the White House, the most important